Party of two. Party of two. Party of two.
Hi, Party of Two here. I am your host, Andrea Donica.
And I am your other host, the Internet's Mark Donica.
And today we are here to talk about Inanimatronics.
Inanimatronics? What are those?
Thank you for asking such a intuitive question, Mark.
I do what I can.
You're very welcome. Wonderful. So, Inanimatronics are any bit of park history that is no longer with us.
The history of history.
Yes. Forever.
It's gone.
Like in Infinity War, everything's just sprinkled away.
I mean, we still got time for that.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
But it's still within our soul.
Yes.
Nice.
Ha.
Saved it.
Soul stones. Yeah. Okay, so, Mark.
Yeah.
What is your...
Well, do you want to say what we're going to be doing?
That's right.
So right now, whenever it's a show of just the two of us, we're each going to be bringing a favorite old attraction to the table and putting the other person to the task of really why do they like that old attraction, and asking various questions. But we're going to start by saying and giving a little reason as to why we like it. Yeah? Did I nail it?
You did.
Cool. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You go first.
Okay. Big surprise for anybody who didn't listen to our first episode. This probably will be a big surprise. I'm going to say specifically the Country Bear Vacation Hoedown, not the Country Bear Jamboree, not the Country Bear Christmas Jamboree, but the Country Bear Vacation Hoedown, the last iteration of the attraction in Disneyland. And it speaks to so many of my oddly country sensibilities. Like I've been a city boy for my entire life. Mm-hmm. Never lived in the country. Don't like going outside.
He never ever does.
No, I did recently, and I would not recommend it. But there's something about if I would say a spirit animal or like a Patronus or something like that, I would say a bear, a big old bear.
Yeah.
And I guess the fact that it was kind of like Chuck E. Cheese on steroids, even though if you think about it, just in terms of like my progression, it was Chuck E. Cheese and then this. But it's a musical review show, doo-wop, country, rock and roll, all sorts of stuff with animatronic bears. And technologically speaking, for the year that the original iteration came out, it was a technological landmark.
Absolutely.
And then by the time it got to its final iteration, it was kind of hokey, but I think with looking at something, I'm going to say comparable, looking at a comparable animatronic show like Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, where the range of motion is so amazing, but it has to stick to a humanoid figure. If you did modern animatronics or like the captain level on Pirates of the Caribbean, captain level animatronics for a whole bunch of bears, something will definitely stick. And especially now as an adult, listening back to that entire soundtrack, it's all usually kind of in my vocal range too. So but I even sing the female songs that are definitely not. But it's nice to be like, I'm gonna be Buff today, and I'm gonna sing all of Buff's parts. I'm gonna be Buck or Max. I'm gonna pick one of the three heads to sing as, but then I'll be sing whomever I want to be, or pick a various song, Rocky Top or Ghost Riders in the Sky or whatever. It's so much of I don't know. I really don't know what about it really struck me back when I was a kid to have it really stick with me now, but I flippin' love it. And any sort of rumors of, they're gonna bring it back and put it in the Bear Mountain in California Adventure,
he gets so excited.
I get so excited. And anytime I see anything sort of related or Disneyana or whatever, you've been very kind, my lovely wife, of finding these older pieces of Disneyana merchandise,
memorabilia
that I would never think to look for, just because I'm like, it's gone. Why be sad when I look at these things?
I
But
spend too much time on eBay, and that's partially my problem, but I do it all out of love.
Do it for you.
I do it for you.
But there was recently we went to the vending, this is from Disneyland, and they had a wooden, it looked like a wood carved, it was probably plastic, Big Al bank that was like $250, and I went, maybe. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is about specifically the Country Bear Vacation Hoedown. Maybe because I know more of those songs, or I knew more of those songs at the time than I did of the classic show. But Country Bear Vacation Hoedown.
Do you think that Country Bear Vacation Hoedown scratches your Americana itch in a way? Because you seem to really lean towards things that are just in general like strong Americana.
Well, I don't know, because we fairly frequently go to Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, and when we started going, that wasn't a regular staple of the park. I don't know. I think because I started reading a lot of Lincoln stuff before Great Moments, and then Great Moments came back sort of right at the beginning of that ascent to, all right, we're going to Lincoln Town. So I don't know if it necessarily scratches the Americana itch as much as, I don't know, I like a good banjo. And I think it's the whole... I think it's the idea of summer vacation, maybe, and because one of the other traditions that I used to have as a kid was, as soon as I got home from school on the last day of school, I would pop in my VHS tape of Tiny Toons, How I Spent My Summer Vacation, and that until it got really bad, which I don't know. I can probably watch it again and feel nostalgic, but stuff like that, stuff like a Goofy movie, which is a family road trip movie. And maybe it's something, I think it's more vacation related.
Interesting.
And it's also got really good harmony.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of good harmony, whether it's instrumental or vocal, whether it's metal or country or whatever. Or operatic or whatever. I'm a fan of a good. I don't know. I don't know if it's the Americana part of it, but maybe.
Do you feel that you identify with a particular bear?
Ooh, any given day. It's different bears on different days,
okay,
to be sure. I mean, Big Al makes the best out of a bad situation. Yeah, it would. I mean, if I'm feeling particularly energized, it's not Thunderlips, because that's Hulk Hogan's character in Rocky. But the Elvis bear. I would say probably more generally than not, it's Henry. It's somebody just trying to be like, hey, we're here to have, everybody's here to have a good time, and I'm here to make sure that everybody does. What are you do? Stop doing that. Put it down. Come. All right. Well, we're just moving on here. That's
the producer side of you.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I mean, we unfortunately you were working that night, but when one of our friends Julian was in town recently, I say recently, that was January.
Yeah, no, that was not recent at all.
But we played an RPG called Honey Heist, which is about bears trying to steal honey. And I picked one of two characters. I was going to be one of two characters depending on everybody else. But I was ready. I had both, quote, character sheets ready. And I was either going to be Banjo from Banjo-Kazooie, or I was going to be Henry from Country Bear Jamboree, Vacation Hoedown, etc., etc. And I ended up being Henry, and it was so much fun. So I would guess on the whole Henry. Yeah, Henry. More than not, though I identify with many of the bears. Henry would probably be the one that I identify with the most.
All right. All right. Fair. And then in terms of little nods around now Critter Country
Yeah.
of what once was,
Making me
what
sad.
I'm sorry, but what is your favorite little nod to the attraction that you can still find?
Well, there's the marquee to the Winnie the Pooh ride is reminiscent of the Playhouse carving, because it's a wooden carving of Winnie the Pooh and his friends and all that stuff. But I mean, Max, Buff, and Buck are on the Winnie the Pooh ride, but I would say the one that kind of gets me the one that makes me feel the least sad would be the fact that Oogie Boogie on Haunted Mansion Holiday is an old Big Al animatronic with a sheet over him, essentially.
Oh.
And it just makes me go like, I know them curves. That's that big boy.
Whoa.
That's that thick bear. Like 4 C's. It's that thick bear, Big Al. Oh, Big Al. But that's like, they don't have too many, but seeing like some of the names in the Hungry Bear.
Yeah.
But no, like I can still remember the hallway of the Playhouse so well, and figuring out which theater you would go into, and it was. But it would have to be Oogie Boogie being an old Big Al. Just because that's the one that we kind of encounter the most, because we kind of stay away from Winnie the Pooh. Not that it's a bad ride or anything.
Well, it's just...
It's very basic, and it's literally stomping on the grave of one of my favorite things. So aside from that...
That's always painful. What is something that was objectively bad about...
That's a good question.
Your favorite old attraction that you just overlook?
Well, if you go back and you like listening to the record now and hearing all the songs, you see everything in your head. You see everything working perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas on show days, sometimes if a particular animatronic wouldn't be working, they wouldn't quote force it to go on. They would skip it. You know, they would skip various acts, or if it was just barely working, they would let it go. So a lot of the time the sync wouldn't work. It got to a point where it would be reminiscent of Lester's Possum Park or Chuck E. Cheese, where it would be just so like you would hear every single. It's not like Tiki Room or a couple of the other places where you hear some of the puffs of the air for various movements, where it was more of the creaks and cracks and a lot of various sound effects that don't equate it to a well working attraction. So the fact that it probably didn't run at 100% most of the time, and it was really, with that, it kind of made it hokey a little bit more than an impressive feat as to when it first launched. Like when we went to Walt Disney World and saw the original show, it was still really impressive, and I felt really cool about it. But it was still, well, that bear didn't go. That entire area wasn't used by anybody. It was a much shorter version of the show.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the original version of the show doesn't hit me as much as Vacation Hoedown does.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still really cool to see all of the bears performing, but it just wasn't the show that I wanted. But I would say the reliability of the 100% of the various bear performers, it was hard to get a perfect show, and for some people every show is a perfect show. But if somebody is visiting from out of town and is like, what's this, most times out of not, they weren't getting a perfect show.
Well, thankfully they didn't know that, though.
Exactly, that's the thing. And then they buy the soundtrack and go, well, there's 3 songs that we didn't hear. Is this the director's cut?
Oh, gosh.
Oh.
So, I think that's all
all,
of the questions.
That's all you want to know?
Unless there's something you particularly want to share with me
No, I'm
about.
just a little surprised.
No, it's fine. I just thought it might be time to turn it over to you. For asking me.
I'll ask a transitional question of mine to you.
Okay.
Which is, knowing how much I like this attraction and knowing when I put the music on in the car, if this attraction was still around today, would you, if I wanted to go every single time, would you have a problem with it?
No, because I love you.
God, that's a great answer. Love is real, folks, and it takes the form of animatronic bears singing country songs.
It does. I enjoyed it, though, at Disney World, but I have no memory of going to it at Disneyland as a child.
That's part of the reason Vacation Hoedown is because I don't remember the original show.
Yeah.
I remember the vacation one and just being so enthralled by it. And I was real sad. The first time my mom went to Walt Disney World, they were still switching the seasons, so she got to see Christmas. And now they just leave it as the original show until they find something to put in that space, which is really sad. I think they still change the seasons in Tokyo.
Yes.
I think they changed to Christmas, but they don't have Vacation Hoedown. Either way, Andrea.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about Inanimatronics here. What former attraction would you want to bring back, or something in a similar vein to how I answered?
Fair enough. And question:
Go.
Should I keep this to Disney or just whatever?
Whatever. Just because, like, I mentioned in our introduction episode that I listened to the Country Bear Vacation Hoedown soundtrack enough, and it's a different enough attraction. Like, also with some of the thrill stuff or various attractions that we go to, they don't really change much.
Yeah.
There's only a couple. It's usually the theme parks where they really have to sort of gut something and redo it. So, no, please feel free.
Okay. So I'm actually going to jump, and similar to your situation, it's still in Florida. It's just not here in California. I am going to say the E.T. Adventure.
The E.T. Adventure.
Yes.
Okay. So what was it that still makes you fall in love with it to this day?
Well, first and foremost, E.T. is just such a wonderful character. Mm-hmm. Instantly, you fall in love with him. You know, he doesn't have a huge vocabulary to talk, but just the little things that he does, you can understand what he means. And I think that just connects with everyone on a very universal level, which is really nice.
Branding.
Yeah, I didn't even mean to do that. And in terms of the theming of that attraction, the moment that you would get inside of the show building after the little preview video with Steven Spielberg, which admittedly was pretty cool. Pretty cool that he's just, talking there with E.T. and he's like, hey, you got to help him out. Let's do this. It's just like, no, thanks, Steven. And then you go get your passport, and then you step into like the full-on queue just before you get on the bikes, and you are in the middle of a forest, and it's dark, and it's a little spooky, but it's really cool. You smell the pine, and just that is something that I will never get out of my memory. I went to Universal a lot. Every summer as a kid, I would go with my cousins. We'd get passes, and we'd go multiple times for a couple of weeks, and that was probably you know what, I have a lot of favorites from Universal, but it was one of my favorite things to do. I mean, we didn't go and not go on E.T. And you hear the clicking of what's the name of the toy from E.T. where he's dialing. Anyhow, listeners, I know you know what I'm talking
But
about.
either way, when he phones home.
Yeah, when he phones home. You hear that clicking around. Botanicus suddenly coming out of the smoke and calling for E.T. to come home. And, all of that, even before you've gotten onto your ride vehicle. And then you are on a flying bicycle.
I mean...
And E.T. is, like, in a basket in front of you. And just popping up and, like, talking. And I thought in terms of perspective as well, it 100% puts you in the middle of the action.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts out so dramatically. You're being chased by cops
FBI.
and FBI, and it's just crazy. And then suddenly you start flying. And yeah, some of the effects are a bit hokey. Whoa! And
Yeah, a lot of the VO,
but I can't help but laugh about that. And you get that magical Peter Pan moment where you're flying over the city, and then you come to the planet, and all these little baby ETs are bouncing around everywhere. Baby tees, and all the water effects, and it's just happy.
The terrifying mushroom person.
I like how deep his voice is.
Welcome
home. You've arrived.
Terrifying. And for those of you who have no idea what the hell we're talking about, learn a book. But okay, so the E.T. adventure,
and then he says your name at the end as haphazardly as E.T. can possibly manage it. Perfect ending.
Perfect ending. That used to be such a big deal.
Yeah.
And now that you can kind of program, you can create E.T.'s voice in a program and just do vocal recognition, because now there are so many different types of names that you wonder if, like, how often they update the name database for E.T., if they have an actor doing sound-alike stuff to just record, like, Esperanza or, like, stuff like that. Like, I wonder how that works. So you mentioned... Go ahead.
I'm just going to say to that real quick, the way that E.T. would put names together, it really sounded like they recorded sounds and different syllables and vowels, and that the computer kind of put those together, because it never sounded fluid, is what I'm going to say.
But that does reflect E.T.'s vocal style as well.
Yeah, but even for that, it was weird. It was always weird.
Okay.
It still is.
So, all right, E.T. the E.T. adventure. Where to begin? So you say that, much like Peter Pan, how would you compare this to Peter Pan? What is a better ride in your opinion?
Well, I think they have different feelings. With Peter Pan, it's
Then let me change the question.
Yeah.
What score hits you better on the ride? The E.T. John Williams score or the Peter Pan You Can Fly?
I love them both. They both make me want to cry for different reasons.
But which at the moment of sort of takeoff, or comparing takeoff to flying to Neverland, which moment evokes more sort of, I guess I'll call it, childhood wonder out of you?
I guess I'll say Peter Pan technically then for that.
Okay.
When you hear Peter say, "All right, come on, everybody, here we go." And it's just like,
think of a wonderful thought.
And then you're flying over Neverland. It's just magical.
Okay.
Whereas you're flying over just a general city that probably has a lot of smog.
What, on E.T.?
Yeah.
No, you're flying over the valley. Because it takes place in Southern California.
That's right, it does. Yeah,
Which
then there's
even,
definitely smog.
Which is even worse as to why they would take it out of the California one as opposed to the Florida one.
Yeah, those jerks. Man, I really wish Universal was more sentimental about their attractions.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, what had replaced it was the Revenge of the Mummy roller coaster. Now, you're a big proponent of that film franchise as well.
Yes.
But what would you pick over the two?
E.T.
It's a family ride.
It's a family ride.
It's one of the few places where Universal gets close to Disney in terms of it's a ride that everybody can go on. It's an experience that you can rarely get from anywhere else. So I totally understand that. Do you find, since you asked me a very good version of this question, I'll ask you, do you find anything objectionably bad about the ET ride?
There are certain characters on ET's homeworld that just have a very strange design.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on who you are and your life experiences, you may find them slightly traumatizing upon viewing them. I know that all of these characters have names. Forgive me.
Go ahead and get a vamp and I'll look them up.
For example, deep sounding voiced Mushroom Man. He could creep the heck out of lots of children, I believe. I always found him charming. But I could see him also being terrifying. And it's just a little surprising because you maybe see only 2 or 3 characters on E.T.'s homeworld that don't look like E.T. And then the rest of them are all little E.T.s, basically, and Botanicus.
Do you know the name of E.T.'s planet? It's very simple. It's very basic.
I know.
It's the Green Planet.
That's right. I knew it was something obvious. Oh, and by the way, another thing too, why does Botanicus, who is E.T.'s teacher, need E.T. to come back home?
The healing touch.
But if Botanicus teaches him everything, why doesn't Botanicus know how to just fix it?
Yeah, Botanicus. You're the teacher.
Yeah, come on.
You piece of crap.
Maybe it's just because he's too old.
Yeah, maybe he's running out of magic.
Oh, that's sad.
Maybe he imbued E.T. with his powers, and as he's getting older, he's slowly losing them because he planted the seed of power, quote unquote, the seed of power into E.T. So now he doesn't have his own.
Wow, that's deep.
It's also the plot of My Hero Academia. Anyway, let's
right.
Eat this. Let me see. I can't find.
Anyhow, the female character,
yeah,
the one, her design makes me very creeped out to this day. She looks like what I would imagine Angelica's doll would look like.
Cynthia?
Cynthia, if Angelica finished ripping out all of her hair and then stuck like little pink magenta Play-Doh sticks or little things onto her head.
Mm-hmm. She also looks like the inspiration for the Pokemon Jinx. But a little bit crazier.
Yeah. And there's something crazy about her eyes. I have never felt.
She's got them killing eyes.
She really does, and I've never felt okay being in the room with her.
And I don't feel okay. So there's the Mushroom Man. There was Jinx, and there was the third friend. What was the third friend? I don't remember.
I'm completely blanking right now.
Plant person.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Now we're talking about these characters. What did anything of the plot of this ride as a kid make you go, huh? Is there anything you didn't understand as a child, or was it more like the wonder of seeing all of this world realized?
Oh, the wonder. I didn't really question a whole lot of whys. I was just really excited to especially see the little baby ETs playing in the water room.
Favorite piece of merchandise from this ride?
I guess it'll be connected to it. Either way, you didn't have to buy it at the gift shop just outside of the attraction at Universal. They would kind of sell it throughout the park, even after E.T. had closed. But there was this plushie of E.T. in white and blue pajamas with a pajama hat, and he had a star pillow, and he was sleeping, but like starting to go to sleep. So like his eyes were open, but he
was
just
a drowsy boy.
yeah, and he just looked so peaceful. And I got him back in the day as a teenager, and he just, yeah, it was comforting.
Back in the day as a teenager, not as a child, as a teenager.
Okay, don't judge me.
I'm just saying. I mean, this is somebody who's talking about animatronic bears. I think your response is fine. Okay.
Aliens.
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 If you could replace any current Universal attraction at current Universal LA attraction to bring ET back, what would you get rid of?
I mean, it might be unfair of me to say, but I'm going to first vote for the DreamWorks Theater.
I mean, it's a brand new building.
It's a brand new building. I love The Mummy.
Mhm.
I do think that it's far superior in Florida. Much more complex.
Because in LA, it's like 45, 50 seconds. It's really short.
Yeah.
But it's it used to be a very smooth indoor coaster, and now it's not so much. But so you say the DreamWorks Theater.
I'm going to say the DreamWorks Theater, but it might just be easier to just throw it back into the old ET building. What upsets me the most when you're going down the
Starway?
Yeah, the Starway. I was going to say Skyway. I'm like, that's not right.
No buckets here.
No buckets.
No buckets here.
You look down at the show building where the Mummy is, and you still see the outline for the ET 20th anniversary celebration signage that was painted on top, because they have tried to white it out. You can still see it, and it is a constant sad reminder for me.
So here I'm going to be asking a really difficult question.
Yeah.
The decision comes through in Florida. All right, it's time to get rid of ET. What franchise would be acceptable to you to take up that space? And it's not a screen attraction. It's a ride. It's an actual ride.
Oh,
Blank
that's nice
the ride.
to hear. Okay.
I mean, we're in do what you want territory, so it's really whatever you want. So not necessarily tell me what the ride is, but what franchise do you think is acceptable to take the ET mantle?
The hard thing is Universal hasn't had like one of those really classic hits in some time.
Like a family hit, I would say.
Yeah. I would think that whatever comes in its place needs to be something that's family friendly and just as immersive as ET is. And Universal has relied way too much on screens for all of their attractions.
Yeah.
So not something that has a height requirement, I would say.
Something that just popped into my head. It's a little too late to do now, but if they were going to do it, geez, has it been 10 years already? A franchise that I could have seen taking over the spot, even though if it had become a real cult classic, which I don't know if it has yet. Super 8, the J.J. Abrams Amblin Entertainment Alien movie, which had similar sort of kids in the woods trying to make a movie, and it would have been a reskin for sure, and I don't know what you would have done about the Green Planet section, but it's something that I think could have been put into that. But if there's like no option, no restraints, no anything, can you think of anything?
I mean, what I would really like to see Universal do just in general is do a classic Universal Monsters attraction. Kind of like where maybe you're Van Helsing or you're partnering with Van Helsing, and just or maybe it could be a little more kooky and be like the Monster Mash or something like that.
There was an attraction that was Beetlejuice's
Rockin' Graveyard Review.
Yeah, that featured the Universal monsters.
Yeah.
The special effects stages, they could do it a little bit more. The original, or was it the last iteration of the walkthrough at the front of the park, was like themed to all spooky movies, because there was like Frankenstein, Dracula, but there was also like, I'm sorry that this word is being spoken in our apartment, Chucky.
No, why
I'm
did
sorry.
you?
But it was
Chucky
fine.
gives me the creeps.
Child's Play. I'll say Child's Play.
Okay, well, yeah, that's the correct.
Still,
Yeah.
but
I want to see the classic ones though, not like the absolutely terrifying things today, but like let's pay homage to what built this
City
place.
of Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
I was gonna joke and say a Dark Universe ride with like Tom Cruise's The Mummy
Well,
and Dracula
if it
Untold.
had done well, I'm sure that they would have, and I'm sure that's what they were hoping for. But that has gone down the tubes on fire.
The tubes. Well, now with the possibility of Beetlejuice 2 coming out,
Yeah.
that coupled with the Dark Universe, we could get Beetlejuice's Graveyard Review 2.
You know, I
Beetlejuice
wouldn't
goes
mind
Hawaiian.
a Beetlejuice attraction, like an actual ride. That would be wild.
Terrifying.
Oh my, it would be pretty terrifying. But you know what? It's still fun as long as you play Daylight Come and
That
we
would probably
won't
be
go
the
home.
unload stuff.
Probably.
I wonder if
And the score is just so good.
it's Danny Elfman, man.
Yeah.
But I can imagine you going from like the sand pits and the model town, and maybe not the afterlife, because like there's that one thing of that dude like hung going from Destiny. When was the last time you watched Beetlejuice? Because for me it was like a month or so ago, and I was like, this movie's messed up.
It's been a while.
But it's weird how like with the cartoon it became sort of a family franchise.
Yeah, I watched the cartoon all the time, actually. That was more my familiarity with Beetlejuice, I would say, than the actual original movie.
This is kind of going off topic, but did you ever want Lydia's spider poncho?
Yeah.
Plain and simple. So we're going with, if anything could replace the E.T. ride, anything, Blue Sky, anything, a full-on Beetlejuice ride.
And I think it would have to be
Universal Monsters.
And I think if you're going to do that, it has to be a dark ride themed roller coaster that kind of goes back and forth, kind of similar to the Harry Potter Gringotts attraction.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would, without the screens.
Well, here's what you do. You make it, and now, okay, here's what's going to happen. So there's another show idea that we're going to be doing later, where we're going to be talking about Blue Sky ideas and what ifs and things of that nature. Let's hold on to the Beetlejuice ride.
I think so.
For that show, because I got a great idea that's taken off of something that is also at Universal Parks. Okay, is there anything else that I want to ask you about E.T.? If you could take one prop from the ride, and space is no object. Because me, I would take one of the pictures of E.T. with Steven Spielberg. No, that's not true. Could you imagine? You were talking while we were at the gallery about a conversation piece, Botanicus. If we just had. Like, you know how some like really big homes, you like come in and there's like this nice statue? No, Botanicus.
You know what? That would be pretty legit.
Not to influence your decision, but what would if you could pick a prop from the ride, whether it's a piece of the ride vehicle or the cop or the whatever.
Ah, shoot. That's so hard. And now I can't get that image of Botanicus being at our entrance out of
It's
my
like
head.
MTV Cribs. Hey, MTV Cribs, what's up? Welcome to my crib. This is my boy Botanicus. Let's take a look at the kitchen. No. Let's go back to Botanicus for a second.
I'm really leaning towards Botanicus right now.
I'm sorry to influence your decision
It's
like
okay.
that.
I mean, I ultimately, like, if I was actually in that moment and they were like,
But you want Botanicus and not E.T.?
exactly.
Not an E.T.
So
figure?
then I would be like, nah, I would get E.T. I'd probably get ending E.T. where he's saying goodbye.
So at the same time, could we in our future home set up a sensor
Yes.
that whenever we can turn it on or off at will, because after 1 or 2 times we'll probably be done with it. But once we pass by the
Never.
sensor, we get a welcome home, you've arrived.
Yes. Okay. So we also need the Mushroom Man.
No,
I
just the sound.
No.
Because the Mushroom Man is a creeper.
I want the Mushroom Man.
He's like, all right, the Mushroom Man, fine. So, all right, this is weird. I think there's going to be a lot of other rides that we'll be able to bring up and talk about in this way. I have another version of ending the show that I want to figure out, but would take a little bit too much time, and we are running a little bit low on time. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that does it for today. You know what? We have been holding up this poor employee at the ET ride in Florida, and she's kind of just staring at us, and ET's getting a little impatient, so I think we're gonna go.
Yeah, luckily there haven't been too many people behind us. Well, they've been waiting for a full car. That's what it is, and now we have a full car of people. Thank you for waiting, folks. But I mean, subscribe to the podcast once you get home, or just turn on your podcast app. That's all you need to do. You just bring up your podcast app, or you go to SoundCloud.com. Party of 2 podcast. Yeah, no, you don't have to throw your drink at me, sir. No, that's all right. Okay, we should probably get on the ride.
You can also find Andrea at Make It Aqua.
You can find me in third person. You can find me in third person at Mark B. Donica on Twitter, and I do a whole bunch of other shows. But right now we're going to be focusing on Party of 2. Find us on SoundCloud. We're on Twitter at Party of 2 Pod.
Hold my butterbeer. Thank you. Goodbye.